Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I want to talk about when it comes to your own self-development and self-improvement. I think we could all agree there's no shortage of books, courses, manuals, videos, ideas when it comes to how to improve yourself, take care of yourself, get better, grow, the information you want, whether it's to become fit, wealthy, healthy, famous, confident, whatever, is all readily available in so many different forms. And so today I want to talk a little bit about not necessarily how to get the information, because I don't think that's the challenge. It's really the implementation and how we take that information and actually use it, be consistent, and make the changes that we're setting out to make. So let's dive in. So one of the big things that I hear from so many people that I talk to is when it comes to whether it's self-care or your own personal development, everything we need to know is readily available. And a lot of times it can feel like common sense, like we understand these things. When we hear them, we're like, we know, we understand what needs to be done, and yet you still can't seem to make the changes that you need to make, that you're looking for in order to get that transformation. And I want to tell you, first and foremost, you are not alone in that frustration. So give yourself kind of a little bit of grace, a little bit of space to not beat yourself up about that, because it is something I think we all go through at different points in our lives and with different areas depending on what we're working on. But when it comes to then making those self-improvement strategies more successful, I have a couple of strategies, tips I want to share with you in order to kind of start really moving the needle and making a difference when it comes to implementing those self-improvement strategies. So I'm going to go through, I think I have 7 of them. Some of them you may have heard before. Hopefully, maybe you'll find 1 or 2 that are new that you can try that can start to make a difference for you. So the first one is to have reasonable goals. I know a lot of times, we're always kind of pumped up. You can do anything you want to do, be anything you want to be. And so we can set our goals and our expectations really, really high. And to be able to kind of scale them back and make them a little bit more realistic and a little bit more reasonable. Not to say you can't achieve that larger goal at some point, but to also then be realistic, I'm not going to be an astronaut at this point in my life. I'm not going to be an NBA star, but I might be able to play a pickup basketball game for fun and still be able to achieve maybe that goal in a different way. So to have that goal be reasonable, have my expectations be aligned with the reality of who I am and what my life is like, so that I don't get frustrated and I don't lose that motivation to continue working towards that thing that I say that I want. You can always set bigger goals as you achieve those smaller ones and as you've experienced some success. From a money standpoint, say you want to start earning $10,000 a week, but to say maybe start with a smaller goal of earning $2,000 a week could be just as exciting without the stress as well as possibly the disappointment of not having the tools in place to scale and be meeting that larger goal at this time. That's that yet portion of mindset that I've talked about in the past. If you haven't heard any of those, I can link some episodes where I talk about mindset in the show notes below. The second one is to give yourself a reasonable amount of time in order to achieve that goal that you're setting for yourself. A lot of times if we try and set the time frame too small, it's going to, again, set ourselves up for failure. Something could be, for example, like you want to lose 50 pounds, and for you that might be a reasonable goal, but trying to do that in a month might not be realistic and probably not sustainable. And so trying to do too much in too small a period of time is going to get in the way and sabotage our success. And so to really learn how to, set a time frame that's going to be achievable, be enthusiastic about those small steps that you make moving forward. Sometimes it's about the journey and gaining that momentum towards that larger goal, as opposed to seeing it as an all or nothing. Being able to celebrate those small wins and have that positive feelings about your progress is going to help keep you on track to keep making more progress and working towards those goals. So whether you're trying to say lose weight, that 50 pounds, get excited about those first 3 pounds. If you're setting a financial goal, you're trying to save $100,000, get excited about that first $100, those first $1,000, and keep that momentum going is going to help you then stay on track with that personal development. And so as part of that, not only celebrating those small wins, but the third one is to reward yourself for even the smallest amount of improvement, because any improvement is still improvement. And so it's also going to kind of set yourself up to be more likely to make that happen again in the future when you have a reward attached to it. So, reward yourself for a day of healthy eating, reward yourself for a day of relaxing and self-care, reward yourself for taking 5 minutes to take care of yourself. Reward yourself for accomplishing those 3 tasks that you set for a day. Whatever it is, and the reward can be as small as maybe a little dance party, maybe being able to have a special treat that you like, maybe sitting outside for a couple minutes, whatever that reward is for you, but be generous with those rewards and keep them coming. The next one is to create daily habits that are going to move you forward towards meeting those goals. I talk a ton about habits. I just had an expert on last week as a podcast guest, and realizing that it's not just one single thing that helps us to improve our personal development, make those self-improvements, but it's a series of tiny actions stacked together throughout our day that can change your life. The little things you do every day, day after day, are going to help you reach those goals. As well as when you start to automate those habits, then you don't have to worry about them actually happening. It's kind of like brushing our teeth, getting dressed, taking a shower, those things that automatically happen. You make your coffee, you have those routines in place, because then they automatically happen. There's not as much of a chance of missing them, of falling off track and not heading towards that end result. The other thing to consider in the next kind of strategy is to make sure you are considering kind of those obstacles or challenges that maybe have tripped you up in the past when you're trying to reach that goal, or that could potentially get in the way of you making progress on that self-improvement objective. It could be your own attitudes, some mindset issues, some limiting beliefs, maybe friends or family members that aren't as supportive, that maybe don't have some great comments, a lack of skill. Sometimes we need to be able to take the time to train, to learn a new skill. Think of if you're trying to do a new workout routine, you might have somebody make sure you're using proper form and using the right skill set to get the goals and the progress that you're looking for, or maybe just the time commitment involved for the goal that you're setting, and making sure, again, part of that reasonable goal and setting the right amount of time is that you are carving out the space necessary so that that doesn't become the obstacle. So once you start removing these different obstacles, it's going to make a huge difference in your success. The next one is patience. When my son was younger, patience, I said, was going to be his favorite P word, because, as a society, I think we're trained to want everything yesterday, to want it right away, to try and get ahead of the timetable that's actually necessary to achieve those things. And so by setting something reasonable, sticking to it is going to require that patience to pace yourself so that things are sustainable, so that they actually get ingrained as habits, so that you stay motivated. motivated, because sometimes when we're motivated, it's hard to be patient. But if you don't have the patience, you're actually not going to last long enough to experience the gains to stay motivated. So it's almost like a catch-22. So really going into it with that patience, allowing yourself the space to grow, to develop. Even as a business owner, I've had to learn, that it's not all about jumping in and making these big figures and things like that, but building a brand, building my confidence and experience and expertise is a long game. And to be into these habits for your own personal growth and self-improvement and development is a long game. And so to really set yourself up for that. And then the last one is to make one change at a time. You can have several different self-improvement objectives, things you want to work on, things you want to grow at, but to make sure you're only working on one of them at a time, or at least introducing one into your current routine at a time, and waiting until that current one gets automated, habituated, before you start adding a change. Because when you start adding too many things at once, it gets overwhelming, and then you're on a fast track to nowhere. So like I was saying, this is such a great time in our world to be able to start prioritizing your self-improvement, your personal development. The number of resources out there, coaches, courses, manuals, books, so many ways and formats available to help you improve your life, change your life, set those long-term goals and objectives to be starting to live the lifestyle that you want is so possible and attainable. Just make sure when you're applying that information, you're doing so consistently and in the ways we talked about above to really help you reap those rewards. If this sounds like something you want to dive a little bit more into, I'm offering free coaching calls right now. You can grab one, link in bio, on Instagram at best_d_life to really help set you up for success. We can go through what's working out well for you, what areas maybe we could start to work on, and how to help set you up for success and those gains and goals that you're looking to meet. Thanks so much. Let me know in the comments below what stuck out for you, what works for you, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.